Dudes, I've had a few run-ins. I've had a few run-ins with the law, okay? Never too serious, never convicted, okay? But I've had a few serious close calls with the law in my younger days, my freewheeling outlaw comic book drawing days of the 90s, okay? And so this is kind of a story, and it does tie in. This is kind of a story of how the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they saved my life and the life of my buddy, Matt Martin. Now, to tell this story, I'm gonna have to take you all the way back to 1996, okay? This is the years of Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Nine Inch Nails, okay? Seinfeld in its prime, Pauly Shore, the Weasel, buddy. And I'm 19 years old and I'm drawing my comic book Creed. And man, it was a popular comic, okay? If you don't know, it was a popular comic, okay? And I got to cross over with my heroes, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. These were the guys who inspired me to make indie comics when I was a kid. And so I was talking to them on the phone every now and then. They let me borrow their characters to do a Creed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. It was a big deal, okay, for the time. So big of a deal, in fact, that I was getting phone calls from film studios saying, hey, we want to license Creed to be an animated film. And I'm like, all right, where do I sign? And they're like, well, before we do that, though, you got to get out to San Diego Comic-Con. It's next week. And I'm like, I can't get to San Diego by next week. I live in Indiana, man. If you don't know, California ain't exactly right next door to Indiana. Flights were booked, hotels were booked. There was no way that I was going to be able to get there. But I really wanted a Creed animated show. I wanted that deal, you know what I mean? So I called up my buddy Matt and I said, dude, I'm about to go on a teenage crazy-ass Comic-Con adventure. No hesitation, he looks me in the eye and he says, you going to Comic-Con? With what money? I said, I don't have any. He says, I'm in. Hell yeah, dude. We bought train tickets and we traveled all the way out to San Diego Comic-Con. And now, if you don't know, this is about 3.5 days by train, okay? And it was not comfortable. Let's just say that. It's basically like being on an airplane for 3.5 days. You can move around a little bit, but for the most part, you gotta be sitting in these kind of cramped shoulder to shoulder seats for 3 days. And I'm a tall guy too, so my knees are like up in my face pretty much the whole time. We get to San Diego Comic-Con, I meet up with the guys from the licensing studio, and they're really cool. I don't think I made a great impression because I'm a kid from, you know, small town and I don't know anything about big Hollywood business or anything like that. But we did do the deal. They didn't make the animation, but I got at least paid for the license. And we did make a bunch of other licensing stuff too. So it wasn't like it was a total loss or anything like that. San Diego Comic-Con in 1996 was fun, but there weren't any girls there. I mean, I was hoping, but you know, because I was 19, okay, that's what 19-year-olds care about. But I did go to a lot of parties and met a lot of my heroes. And you know, you go to these parties and people are just passing out lemonade. I mean, you're just 19, they're just bringing you lemonade. You could call a broom service and they bring you lemonade back in 96. So the trip was a hell of a lot of fun. I almost got into a fight with Rob Liefeld. Yeah, again, I just couldn't let it go. I couldn't let it go. That guy, his button fly commercials, he was a hero for me when I was a kid, but I couldn't let the button fly commercial slide. So he dreaded seeing me, and I kind of just enjoyed messing with him. So the trip was overall just a lot of fun, really. The problem was, okay, after we like stayed with our friends, we found some people that we knew and they let us stay with them, thank God, because we didn't have anything planned. And somehow we were able to sleep on their couch, basically, head to toe, obviously. I mean, Matt and I are tight, but not that tight. But it got to be the end of the Comic-Con, and you know, damned if I didn't just run completely out of money, which was only really a problem because we didn't have a return ticket home. But thank God that I had all of my original artwork from my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover with Creed. So we went around the Comic-Con in the last few hours of the show trying to hawk off all of my old artwork. Now, I didn't want to let these pieces go. They were treasures to me, you know? These were momentous moments. The time that I crossed over, I got to draw. I crossed over with the Ninja Turtles. I got to draw my favorite characters interacting with my character. What a momentous thing. And I didn't want to let go of these original pieces, but I had to because I wasn't going to leave my buddy Matt stranded in San Diego Comic-Con. Friends don't strand their friends at Comic-Con. That don't happen, even in the 90s. I mean, we were savage, but not that savage. So I sold off my artwork from my dream project for a couple $100, just enough. I think I had 20 bucks in my pocket, and we were supposed to get back. We had 3.5 days eating nothing but like nut bars, candy bars, and crackers, because 20 bucks doesn't go very far on train food, okay? Okay, this is where the story gets freaking bonkers, okay? Halfway through the trip, it's the middle of the desert. It's pitch dark outside, okay? And I look out the window and there's lights, there's like sirens, there's stuff going down. Like, I'm thinking, what is this? Is this some kind of like a emergency evacuation or something? Did the train break down? What's going on? We got DEA out there. We got officers blocking the doors in bulletproof vests with their hands on their holsters. Okay, I'm worried about what might be going down on this train. The officer walks up and taps my buddy Matt Martin on the shoulder, and he goes, hey, we're gonna have to ask both of you to open up your bags. We're like, what? What's going on? And they're like, well, we have reports that somebody's been selling drugs on this train. And I'm like, drugs? I maybe drank a little bit of a Coca-Cola, but I ain't selling no drugs. And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna have to go through your bags. The officer starts digging through my Jansport bag, and he starts chuckling to himself. Soon after, he pulls out a G.I. Joe Rattler and I think a Transformer. Why? Because I was okay, I'm 19 years old. I finally had a little bit of money, not much, but a little bit of money. So I was collecting all the toys that I never got to have when I was a little kid. So I couldn't pass up a G.I. Joe Rattler at the San Diego Comic-Con, but everybody on the train starts busting up into laughter. Now keep in mind, okay, this is what I had to endure, okay? In the 90s, you couldn't be a comic book collecting, a toy collecting grown man. No, that was socially unacceptable, okay? I caught a lot of flack. I suffered for my passion in the days long before any of this stuff was cool. So it turns out the reason they thought I was dealing something was because I kept going through my bag to show my artwork to the cute girl that was sitting in the seat behind us. It's 3.5 days on a train, and there's a cute girl back there. Of course I'm gonna be talking to her, man. And I'm trying to just not lose my mind, so I'm drawing, you know, on the train. I swear I have always felt like a weirdo. I've always felt like people look at me and go, what is he doing? Because I draw, okay? This is not a common thing. Nowadays, all you kids with your fancy iPads and stuff is just drawing all the time is totally acceptable. I got an Instagram. Ooh, are you a famous Instagrammer? Oh, that's cool. I follow these other cool artists online. Not back then. It was a subculture, man. You know, people keep saying, oh, it must have been easier for you because there was less distractions and less competition back in the 90s. That is not true, man. It was a subculture, and you were made fun of for being interested in such things. For being a Star Wars nerd, you get made fun of in the 90s. So long story short, that's pretty much how the Ninja Turtles saved my life and my buddy Matt Martin's life. Because if I did not have those original artworks with me at San Diego Comic-Con, I wouldn't have had anything to sell. We wouldn't have had enough money to get back home. We would have been completely stranded in San Diego. So the Ninja Turtles, they saved our lives, man. By the way, I swore I would never draw a comic book again, but I'll tell you what, if Nickelodeon would give me the opportunity to draw them however I want, I would take that shit back to the way Eastman and Laird did it, man. Somebody would get their limbs sliced off in the first 3 pages, okay? I guarantee it, okay? Because that's the Turtles I like. All red headbands, black and white. Dudes getting resurrected using worms, okay? That's how crazy that stuff was. Yo, if you want to own an original Trent Kaniuga Ninja Turtles drawing, this one that you've watched me paint in this video is up for sale over on my Gumroad channel. I did these a couple years ago. I just started doing a lot more like kind of fan art pieces of some of my favorite comics and favorite games and just characters that I really love. So I'm gonna start putting up a few more of those over there until I find a better way to sell original art. So if you want to pick that up, you can swing on over there and check out what I've got. I got a bunch of tutorials over there as well. And dudes, until next time, I'll catch you all. Amanya on the bond and cowabunga, dudes.